And so amazingly, we're on to Alien Atoll again for one of the later games in this tournament. This is much earlier than we normally see Alien Atoll. Alien Atoll is normally in the fourth or fifth game. Well, it's normally the fourth map, honestly. But it very much makes sense because JustPlainSvage has been choosing these maps. And Alien Atoll, Penguin Paradise, the first map he chose, and Alien Atoll, this map, are the two shortest rush distance maps in the pool. The hardest maps to go for a strong late game force on, although not actually that hard for Renegades or Hordes. I'm sort of biased from playing Invaders and thinking that, I guess. But these two maps, short rush distance maps, good maps for JustPlainSvage's Tank Crush, makes sense that he's chosen both of these maps. But he needs to win on this one now. And even when he wins on this one now, he's then going to have to go into probably Circular Logic after this, I assume would be the map ZertoN would choose, and then into a final game on Rivendell, which really would not be suiting of JustPlainSvage's style. So he has a big road to come back if he's going to do the C9 reverse sweep on this one. So once again, Renegades early game, Renegades versus Renegades is as stale as ever. The exact same stuff coming out of each of these. The real question right here, because we pretty much know what ZertoN's going to do, is does Savage go for that Tank Crush again on this map with a decently small rush distance and go for that big attack, or does he try to fight ZertoN at his own game? Does he go for that big late game macro style that we all know and love from ZertoN? And he is going another power, which suggests probably that he's just going to go for another refinery here, but also probably suggests the more late game tech focused build, because if you were going to do a Tank Crush, and there we go, there we see he's he is going for the radar, especially. An interesting slight difference here in that ZertoN is going straight for the refinery, then into the tech, then into radar, whereas JustPlainSvage is doing the radar first. I think that may be a mistake. Yeah, he is going. So he's going 2 refinery into this air, while ZertoN is going to be slightly slower, but be going 3 refinery into this air, which seems like a just objectively better build at this point. But yeah, you couldn't have put this down if you're going for Tank Crush, because it's a rush. You need to rush. This may end up being okay, because I mean he's not going to be too far behind, but this is already getting him money. He's already banking up, and now he has finished his helipad. And I wonder if he can even produce from all of this onto refineries. Can he, on 2 refineries, make tanks, rocket troops, and rocket choppers? He gets his first rocket chopper out now, and the first rocket chopper comes out here from ZertoN, with the second and now third going down, and only the second going down from JustPlainSvage. So it does look like this is just, you know, a slight less experience in playing this game, you know, from ZertoN, who plays this game every day and is probably the best player in the world at this style, and JustPlainSvage, who is a far more aggressive player, used to playing in a more aggressive way. And when he tries to do the more macro focused build, even doing that in a more aggressive build, he also, because he was safe with his radar, is also actually slowing down his push, which means he is only just coming up to this resource point here, whereas ZertoN has already taken that as his 4th resource point and is close to pushing up towards this resource point. And from a lot of the games I've seen on this map, especially games like Renegades versus Renegades, where you're expecting to go into these big sort of split map situations, this point is the most important point in the game. If you can get this point early, that gives you a huge advantage in the game. It's like if you've seen any big late StarCraft games on Daybreak or something, if you can get a base on your enemy side and hold it, you can win the game off of just that. Because if JustPlainSvage puts up an absolute great fight, which he's very, very capable of doing, he's a very good player, one of the top players, wouldn't be far under ZertoN in my rankings. even if they're super equal, if they just fight here for the whole game, like World War One style, no movement, super stalemate, having this will mean that in the late game, when you're going to these two, you've had more resources. You can go back here later and have an advantage. Now, this is a very ballsy move from JustPlainSvage, something that I would very much like normally. However, as I have said before in this matchup, the most important thing is chopper numbers. And if he's going to lose chopper numbers compared to ZertoN, he's just putting himself at more and more of a disadvantage in that chopper engage when it does come. He did take out at least one, I think two of ZertoN's choppers and weaken a few other, but this chopper fleet is looking bigger than this chopper fleet, and 4 more choppers would pretty much equal those out. And now that he knows he has the chopper advantage, he can do something like push over here and do these sort of aggressions. These sort of little microaggressions almost with just a few choppers are far better against like an invaders faction that doesn't have the resources. Now, he actually caught out a really good defense there by JustPlainSvage, catching these choppers as they were pushing up too far. I hope that JustPlainSvage doesn't ruin this by pushing out. But these little microaggressions are better when, firstly, your chopper numbers are less important. And see, this is a mistake. They've already cut off each other's choppers, so he doesn't have the chopper numbers that ZertoN had before to one-shot these troops. And now he has a better force, but he really needs to be careful with these, because you do need to try and put on pressure with your choppers to pull them apart. But if anything gets caught, if you lose too many more choppers than your opponent loses, that can be the game. Now, this is not necessarily going to go well because he has a couple of rocket troopers there, and he's having these chopper engagements. And yes, he's losing a lot there in the retreat. But this is what this game comes down to. This game comes down to using these choppers more efficiently. And both of them are very close right now. Oh, this is a mistake right here. Now, this is something that if you watch ZertoN's play, you will see always when he's playing. This group are always the first to engage. His infantry, his tanks, his artillery, they are always the first to engage. If you select all of these armies and A-click over here, your choppers will get there first and will attack. Right? You can see it here. The chopper's moving out first. But that means your choppers take the first hits, and he's losing bits and pieces of choppers, right? So these choppers just poking and attacking, but you can see that wasn't attack because his ground forces didn't even move. He's now splitting up his ground forces a bit more to try and avoid the infantry thing. These are nice plays. In all RTSs, these are great sort of plays. Splitting up your troops, making sure he's going to have this big long concave, making sure he's having this advantage, and making sure that this stuff, which is meant to take tank damage, right, is going to get killed first, and that these choppers will come in later. And I'm hopefully going to see both players get this far. This might be a mistake that JustPlainSvage is making, is just grouping his whole army and attacking and letting these choppers get hit first. Because the choppers are going to go in again to the defensive fortifications and take that damage. And he is going to take out one of these, but he's just getting chipped away at his own army in order to do that. That was some good fire back and sort of thing, but then he's attacking again and again. Again, these are going in first, and I don't know if these have AoE damage, but it kind of looks like they did. And now ZertoN is just going to push out with some harassment, because now he knows he has the much better chopper numbers. He can get out here. And he could take a harvester and just leave. Just leave. You don't want to fight this, just leave. He's going to lose one on the retreat. That's okay. That's not too bad. He's going to take 2. Or 3 there almost on the thing. Yeah, there we go. And this is something that I've seen in a lot of ZertoN's games, which is really good. In matches like this, where he thinks it's going to get late, he takes the middle base, he takes the advantage base, and he immediately puts up turrets. Because it doesn't matter if he loses some chopper production to his opponent in that situation, because he has this. And so now, what's JustPlainSvage going to do? He can't just push into here, because the turrets give ZertoN the advantage. He needs to either build up his own thing, which he hasn't done. He's been very defensive with his buildings. He's now building up here to try and take this point. He either needs to build up to the front and try and get his own turrets in, maybe push some turrets down here, or he needs to take this base, or he needs to attack over here with choppers. And he actually tried to go up and around with his forces, which is very dangerous because he's getting his forces stuck now. This is sort of quite an all-in move, honestly. And now he's going to get that. There are even heavy tanks coming in, which is going to be really bad. If he can get a good fight here, though, this could be a make or break moment. Like, this is a very all-in decision from him, but look at this, 4 or 5 heavy tanks in there. And he's now trying to back out, and backing out like this is really going to lose you a lot. The artillery is getting a lot of good hits off on this army, but these rocket choppers are just raining in damage from the side. And all this time, ZertoN has taken another base. So ZertoN is now two expansions up. And the first 3 expansions are down for each player, which means that JustPlainSvage only just on this mining base and this mining base. Soon he will be on 1 mining base. Oh yeah, because he did take that second refinery later. And that's going to be a real pain for him in this situation. Still having to fight into enemy turrets. He's now against a player who has so much resources that he's actually cut his production of the rest of his army and gone for heavy tanks. And he's just sniping off some more of these artillery. Because the artillery will outrange the heavy tanks, and so he wants their numbers to be lower so that his heavy tanks can be even more impactful. But JustPlainSvage is really staled here. He didn't take a base up here. He didn't put on significant pressure around here. What I would have liked seen is, instead of him pushing on these, is for him maybe to push up closer, make his own turrets, and then to grab 4 or 5 rocket choppers and just send them to the back here. And there's actually a nuke being fired there as well. Oh my lord. I was not expecting a nuke hit in a 8-bit Armies Ladder Wars tournament game, but that is excellent. This is really what ZertoN has done. He's just took all of the bases on the map and just waited for this big late game force, where JustPlainSvage, showing his inexperience in this sort of big late game environment, did not take the forces here. And you know, even if he cleans up all these heavy tanks and all of this micro work that he's doing, he's like, yes, I got the heavy tanks. Look at this force. Now look at this force. Now look at the reinforcing numbers. Like, he's killed enough of ZertoN's force to make ZertoN's force equal to his now. You know, and he's now lost a load of production as well. So this is the end for JustPlainSvage here. Incredible play from ZertoN, keeping up the whole time, always on point. Very smart building placement, very smart production all the way through, taking every base on the map, and just showing his experience in these sort of late game situations. I mean, I'm sure he's had 100. I'm sure he's had 1,000 split map situations in his StarCraft playing, and so he's much more used to these situations than the much younger, newer Savage. You know, Savage, though he put up a fight in all of these games, he was keeping up to ZertoN in the early and mid game. His tank aggro in the second game would have definitely, I think, ended ZertoN if he hadn't had that demolishing crush on him early. Similar could be said about the first game. His tank aggression could have done a lot better for him if he had not had that crush against him. So this has been ZertoN versus JustPlainSvage. Eyeballs versus Proven Supreme. The other semi-final map should already be up on this channel. So you can, if this is the first series you watch, you can head over there to see who won that, and who will be going up against ZertoN in the finals of the first Game Replays 8-bit Armies Ladder Wars tournament. One day I will be able to say that without pausing to think of the name.